Hi, I'm Mark Taylor with the High Point Public Library, and welcome to another edition of Northwood Knows, our new animal pet series with Northwood Animal Hospital.
Hello, my name is Dr. Rebecca Slivka, and today we're going to be talking about weather and how it affects your pets. There's a lot of risk for when the weather gets really warm in the summertime. One big thing is heat stroke. That's where the pets get overheated and they can't cool themselves. Things that can cause that. One is just weather extremes, especially when we have like a severe heat wave, like upper 90s or close to 100. That's really too hot for the pets. Other times, if they don't have access to shade, to get out of direct sunlight, or if they don't have water, that can really make them overheated. And then some pets like bulldogs or pugs, they have the short noses, and pets, they cool themselves by panting. So the ones that have short noses, that doesn't work as effectively. So they can even get heat stroke when it's, in the upper 70s or lower 80s. For those, you really have to be careful. For cold weather, that's just when you get pretty extremely low temperatures, usually like consistently below freezing, because for them, they're not able to keep themselves warm enough, especially if there's like a wind chill, so if it's really windy. So if they're just out in the cold and don't have any shelter or anywhere where they can get warm, they can get really cold. Other things, you always have to make sure that they have available fresh water. You don't want their water to freeze or anything like that. So those are the big things, just weather extremes when it gets really cold. In the summertime, when it's very warm, it's very important to make sure that your pet doesn't get any injury or burn to their paws from the hot pavement. Usually the first thing you should do when it's very warm is actually to put your hand down on the pavement or the concrete and see how it feels for yourself. If it's very hot to touch, and you can't leave your hand on the pavement for a good 30 seconds without having to lift it up because your hand gets too warm, then it's going to be the same for your pet. So if that were the case, then you really shouldn't walk them on the asphalt or pavement until it cools off a little bit. Try to walk them in the grass, that the grass won't get too hot, so you can walk them on the grass anytime. If you don't have a choice and you have to walk them on the asphalt, then get something to help protect their feet from getting burns, like getting little booties made for dogs to put on their paws. It can definitely be very risky to leave your pet in the car on a sunny day, especially in the summertime when it's very warm outside. Your car, what happens is the heat from the sun comes and gets into your car, and your car is just kind of very well insulated. It just kind of acts like a little incubator, and the temperature can rise very quickly. Even if you just leave your pet for a few minutes, it can get very hot. Even if the windows are open, a lot of times that's still not enough airflow to cool the air. And if your pet is left too long and the temperature gets too high, they could get a heat stroke and even pass away from overheating. It is safe for your dog to go out in the snow, but they definitely need to be supervised, and probably a good idea to make sure that they're on a harness or a collar and a leash, so that way you can watch them closely and make sure nothing bad happens. You want to make sure that they're not getting too wet or getting cold. If they start shivering, you definitely want to bring them back in. Sometimes the snow will collect on their paws. If that's the case, you want to be a little careful. You don't want them to get any irritation on the skin around their feet. And then, just like people, if they're running around too much, sometimes they can slip and injure themselves. So that's definitely something that you want to watch for, and make sure that they're not playing around too much, especially where there might be some slippery spots. If there's there's an emergency weather situation, it's always good to bring your pets with you wherever you are, and definitely make sure they're contained in some way. If they're a small pet, you can put them in a little crate or a carrier. If they're larger, definitely have like a leash and collar and a harness on them. That way you can control them and make sure they don't get scared and run away and get injured. And even if they're outdoor pets, they're dogs that or cats that live outside, if you're able to safely bring them in, that's going to be the best thing, because outside there's really no protection for them, so they're a lot safer to be indoors wherever you are, and just kind of keeping them wherever you're at, where it's most safe for you is going to be most safe for them. It's definitely very important for your pet to have an emergency to go bag in case there was some reason that you had to evacuate very quickly. Things you should have in the bag, definitely the food that they're used to eating, probably some treats as well in case they're a little nervous in a new situation to kind of help comfort them, maybe a toy that they're used to having, or definitely some blankets in case they get cold or they need a place to lay down, food and water bowls to eat and drink out of. And then it's also very important that you have a copy of your vet records, so if you have to board them or take them somewhere, you have their vaccine info. And then if you have room for like a little crate, having some extra leashes or collars just so you can have them make sure that they're safe and they're not running loose or anything is also very important. Thank you for joining us today. Again, my name is Dr. Rebecca Slivka from Northwood Animal Hospital, and I hope you learned a little something today about pets and the weather.